Was that about a hesitancy to support our women? I am getting sick and tired of black men being raked through the coals because of some imagery of not being supportive of black women. Do you know what most black men would do if they saw a black woman getting harmed in the streets? They put their lives on the line for that sister.
So now you're starting to see the grassroots has been screaming loud, and the people with these large platforms are now having to speak up and say something because we're making an impact. And we wasn't just calling Kamala Harris out, we was calling out the Democratic Party, period, for policy. And Stephen A. Snitch, who I usually don't agree with at all, one thing he has been doing, he's been calling out Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for some time now. He's been holding Joe Biden's feet to the fire for a lot of things that Joe Biden has done in the past that the Democratic Party conveniently overlooks. I told y'all, him with Strom Thurmond, he wrote the 82 crime bill, the 86 crime bill, the 88 crime bill, and also the infamous, famous 94 crime bill when it was the 86 crime bill is the one that had the 100-to-1 crack law. That was the one that actually was instrumental in locking a lot of black men up. So now when black men is asking questions, the Democratic Party is talking to us like we're stupid. So one thing I like what Stephen A. Smith did today was he used his platform to actually echo the sentiments or a lot of the talking points that black men have been saying online. He actually used his platform to speak up where the Democratic Party is forced to hear it. So now they have an economic plan for black men. When they came out, they didn't have one because they didn't feel like they had to have one because they just figured they was going to have your vote anyway. But this is the disrespect. And right in front of your face, they have a whole economic plan for immigrants, but not an economic plan for African Americans who've been supporting the Democratic Party, right or wrong, weak and strong for years. But let's look at what Stephen A. Smith had to say about the situation. We'll come right back.
Respectfully, President Obama, what you said is not acceptable. I'm going to say it again. Respectfully, what you said is not acceptable. Not to me, not to a host of black men out there who's not even thinking about voting for Donald Trump. What you said is unacceptable. I'll tell you why in a minute. But before I do that, I want to go to Khalil Thompson, co-founder and executive director of Win with Black Men, who responded to criticism of Obama's comments. Take a look at what he had to say here. Quote, I believe President Obama is speaking to a tangible, visceral understanding of what it means for all men to relate to women in America. Calling out misogyny is not wrong, end quote. To co-founder Khalil Thompson, you're wrong too. And what you said is unacceptable. You see, what you're missing is that you're basically accusing black men who come up with a reason to not support Kamala Harris as engaging in misogyny. Whatever happened to disagreeing without being disagreeable, President Obama? What happened to that? All of a sudden, we want to challenge men and our love and our affection as black men for black women. We want to bring that into question because we've got an election coming up and people may have the temerity to think differently than you.
And see, the Democratic Party tried to use Obama and tried Obama out there thinking that was going to work, and it wasn't. And again, they came out there and it was it was just so disrespectful. You guys never came down and just wanted to sit down with us and ask us what it is that we thought. You came down and just told us that we was being misogynistic. Like, it's just insane, man. It's insane. But that goes to show you how they view young black boys and how they view black men. And why these prisons is filled up with so many young black boys. Because the actual party that we've been supporting, this is the way that they view you. You're nobody to them. You're worse than the gum at the bottom of their shoe. And they can come out and speak to you any kind of way. And we've been down for so long that we normalize it. A lot of our people is used to being talked to this way. If they're not being talked to this way, it's not normal. We're used to dysfunction. But Smith wasn't finished, man. You know, he came in and he just kept going and he doubled down with this.
But let's get back to the part about black men. That's what we're going to talk about right now. That's what we're going to talk about. President Obama, why didn't you tell the folks with the cameras rolling and the black men in attendance that there's been diminishing black voters, particularly black men, since you were in office? In 2008, 95% of the black populace voted for Barack Obama. It dipped in 2012 by about 6 to 8%. It dipped another 6% in 2016 when Hillary was running. It dipped even more in 2020 when Trump ran against Biden. It's been dipping since 2008. It didn't just start. Was that about misogyny? Was that about a hesitancy to support our women? I am getting sick and tired of black men being raked through the coals because of some imagery of not being supportive of black women. Do you know what most black men would do if they saw a black woman getting harmed in the streets? They'd put their lives on the line for that sister. We talked about the absence of black fathers in the past. What do we do simultaneously? We applaud the mothers who've uplifted us, who've nurtured us, who've made us into who we are. I can make an argument. No one loves women, particularly black women, more than black men. No one. You must know this. Black men support the Democratic Party more than everyone but black women. That means we support the Democratic Party more than white women, more than white men, more than Latino women, more than Latino men, more than Asian women, more than Asian men. Nobody, in terms of percentage, supports the Democratic Party more than black people. Black women first, black men second. Even as we sit here today, as Kamala Harris is neck and neck with Donald Trump, she's getting at least 80% of the black vote, according to the polls. And if there's a question mark about her, why don't we tell the truth? It may very well have nothing to do with her, per se, but what she has inherited. You have a president in Joe Biden who has his own history. Don't get me started with the crime bill of 1994. We want to bring up Trump in the 70s and rent control and all and denying rent to black folks. We don't want to bring up Biden and how he got along with segregationists in the 70s. We don't want to bring up how Kamala Harris, then a presidential candidate in 2020, called him out for his support of segregationists when it came to busing. We want to ignore that.
So I like the fact that Stephen A. Smith was also calling out policy. He was going in on policy because these are the things that the black grassroots have been saying for some time now, right? And it's really been going on deaf ears, right? But because he has this platform, he used his platform to talk the way we've been talking, as I said before. And he wasn't finished. He also came and said this to the Democratic Party.
You don't think black people heard that? You don't think there's some trepidation in the hearts and the minds of black people from time to time? At least from the past? Not even talking about what he's done during this administration, which some people will believe his policies and his heart have been in the right place in some of their eyes. You're President Obama. How do you ignore that? Inflation, the cost of living, the price of gas, the price of groceries. That don't matter? Folks ain't paying attention to that? Immigration and our borders. And this belief that there's an elevated level of sensitivity towards them, as opposed to black folks struggling, if not starving in this country. Yes, that plays a role too. I brought it up right here on this show. When the mayor of New York was talking about $53 million in prepaid credit cards for immigrants who came across our borders illegally and having prepaid credit cards for them. And I said, wait a minute, black folks been starving for years. We ain't get that. You don't think they notice? You don't think they notice? Is it possible that the only reason some black folks, not me, but some black folks may not be inclined to vote, or they may be a bit disenchanted, or dare I say may even be willing to go as far as voting for Trump? Is it possible that it's policy as opposed to misogyny? Is it possible that they've looked at a Democratic Party that is locked in on addressing or not addressing immigration and folks crossing the borders illegally, and have prioritized focusing on that, along with other issues, identity politics and beyond, that has become such a focal point that has turned off folks in the African American community? Some, not most, not all, just some. Is that possible? And is it possible that that is the reason why even Kamala Harris herself has become a bit more assertive in addressing the issue of immigration, in addressing the economy, in addressing a plan for Black America as it pertains to facilitating more business loans for minority ownership and things of that ilk? Is it possible that black folks, particularly black men, more so than the black women, who you look at Roe v. Wade and the women's rights and what have you, in Trump's position, they're like, he's got no chance in hell of luring them in. But is it possible that when it comes to the men are saying, wait a minute, get all that, but what you gonna do for us? Could it be the issues as opposed to just misogyny?
I'll say this: vote for whoever it is that you want to vote for, but don't disrespect your family members or people inside your house because they have a difference of opinion as to which way they want to go, right? We need to vote for whoever has the best policies that's going to suit us and our communities. And this thing, it gets real goofy and crazy. I'm looking online and I'm seeing a lot of young women down black men and talk. I mean, I'm hearing some horrible stuff, man, that's coming from some of our young sisters, man. A lot of times, man, we need to be focused on what goes on locally in the municipalities that we live in. We need to be focused on those things, because those are things that directly affect our life, like what goes on in the state and in our cities. So y'all really galvanized and roused up for the presidential election, but you don't even know who your judges are. You don't know, like, y'all don't. Who's your deputy mayor and who's your mayor? Who's on your city council and the cities that you come from, right? So a lot of you women on here, y'all talking trash. A lot of you men, like the one guy that said that we were misogynist, we was practicing misogyny. Like, it's insane, because we're questioning the Democratic Party. But again, they can do whatever they want to do to you and in your face. And she can come on there and say, no, I'm not going to do nothing just for black people. We don't have no bills. We're still not a protected class in this country. We don't have, like, it's insane, man. And most of the stuff has been going on under the Democratic watch. Cities across America are decimated under the Democratic watch. I don't think that the Republicans will be any better, but the black community has been supporting the Democrats. When I was young and my auntie took me to vote, she told me who to vote for. So growing up, it was just like second nature voting for Democrats because that's what I was taught. We always did. Now when we asking questions, they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle it. But I wanted to bring this forth because Stephen A. Smith, we actually agreed on something. And he used his platform to lay him out. I'm happy that he did this, man. So I'm going to cut this video short here. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe to Street Media TV. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.